What's up, everybody? I'm Wyatt Bagnall.
Taylor Wallerstein.
And we are back today. We are going to be going over some schedule predictions.
Yes, sir.
We're not going to be able to do all 32 because that'd be
a 4-hour show.
Yeah, longer, probably.
Most likely.
That would be absolutely ludicrous. So, I'm not exactly sure how we want to do this. How we can sort of like cherry pick them if we want, like pick the teams we find interesting and be like, how do we think they'll do? Or we can pick a division and do it. There's a lot of ways.
Do we want to do AFC one day and then NFC another, or is that still too large? That might be too large.
That still might be too... Okay, here's what we'll do. We will start with a team that's interesting. Like, how about let's start with the Bills?
Okay.
And because, like, they're an interesting team at least. We can sort of go through and figure that out. And then, depending on how long that takes, we'll gauge it.
Well, let's do AFC East and AFC West. And then the next time we'll do North-South.
I'm surprised you don't want to do North.
I don't want to like blow my load first episode, you know.
Yeah, okay. All right, sure. We'll do two.
Two divisions.
We'll do two divisions of show.
4 episodes of it. Yeah.
We'll go East West, then North South, and then we'll flip to the NFC and do the same thing: East West, North South.
Sure, works for me.
Sweet. All right,
Does it work for you guys?
Doesn't matter. All right, let's get started with the Bills.
I'm with it.
Okay, so week 1, the Bills are at the Jets. I have them winning. I think they beat the Jets.
Yeah, I think that's a good kind of welcome back game for Josh Allen and the Bills. I don't think the Jets are going to get it all. I think the Jets will still be fine and definitely a wild card contender with Rodgers, but you know, it's one off season.
They're not going to be as... I think the Bills are highly motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is sort of like... This is them reminding people, like, hey, you can make all the jokes you want, but in reality... It took a lot of stuff to go wrong before the Bills fell apart.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of that stuff is not wrong to start the season.
Yeah.
And they've tended to start pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jets... I think the Jets are going to be so full of themselves that they're going to just walk face first into a buzzsaw.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the Jets are going to want to come in and punch him in the mouth. They're not really going to have that opportunity, and this is just going to be a really dominant performance by the Bills where they're going to do kind of what they did last year at the beginning of the season of just like, all right, remember who we are. Like,
yep,
it's Josh Allen. We didn't get worse in the offseason.
No, they did not get worse.
Yeah, so I don't... Until the Bills are giving me consistent reasons to not be in on them, I'm going to be in
I view them like the Chiefs. At this point, they have to show me something's wrong before I'm going to say it's wrong now.
Exactly.
Because for like the last 3-4 years now, they've been really good.
Yep.
Even when people sometimes like, oh, there's this or that, there's not a whole lot of reasons to really be that worried about them.
Yep.
So I'm going to say they win. The next 2 games I think are fairly easy. Home versus the Raiders and then at the Commanders, I think they start 3-0.
Yeah, I wish I could argue with you, but I think the Raiders are going to be kind of a similar Jets thing, but probably a little bit worse.
I don't think they're similar to the Jets. I think the Raiders are going to be trash.
Oh, really?
They're going to be crap.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to be good at all. This is going to be a bad year for them.
I was not expecting that from the Raiders, to be honest. I thought it was going to be kind of like a mid-season. I was thinking 7-9. Like, I guess
7-10.
Yeah, excuse me, 7-10, or 8-9, around that area. Maybe positive, but I'd have to really look into their schedule again.
We will,
which we will in a sec. But yeah, honestly, like I figured the Raiders, especially like this is just gonna be like wannabe Patriots 2.0. You've got Jimmy Garoppolo, you've got Josh McDaniels.
It's gonna be great until Jimmy's hurt in week 3.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee.
He could get hurt against the Bills, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, there might not even be a guarantee he's on the field in week 3, but it'll be, I didn't think they'd put up a fight by any means.
No.
But
on these bad ones, I'm not going to elaborate much because I just think for time's sake.
I'll have to take a look at the Raiders a little bit more.
We will.
When we go over them and see how their season's going to go. But for me right now, baseline 7-9, but we'll see.
All right.
And I don't think they're going to beat the Bills.
No, they're not going to beat the Bills, and the Commanders aren't going to do it either.
I'm not even going to waste my breath on the Commanders.
No. Week 4 and 5 are interesting for the Bills. Week 4, Miami's at home. I think they beat Miami at home.
Okay.
I'll jump ahead. I have them splitting with the Dolphins. And with a lot of these divisions that have multiple good teams, I essentially split them and say that you're most likely to win the home game.
Safe pick.
So I think that they beat Miami at home. And then they'll lose to them on the road.
Spoiler alert: I have them sweeping.
Okay, fair
just
enough.
because I believe in Josh Allen more than Tua, to be completely honest. But it will be. I do think it's entirely possible that happens. But yeah, I think if they're hosting, they're going to want to kind of prove after last year, especially with how close that playoff game was. They want to, hey, if we can prove that we're the elite of the AFC West by week 4, or excuse me, AFC East, then they're going to do that.
I think by week 4 is also when they start really figuring out how to use Dalton Kincaid.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think that's when he starts to really come on too. A lot of these teams that have like prominent rookies, I have them starting a little slower.
Sure.
And then it's around the week 4, week 5 spot where I'm like, they usually settle in right around there.
And they still got Dawson Knox too, so I mean
they got really good a good 2 tight end set. I think Kincaid will overtake him.
Oh, 100%.
But
he's just too talented.
Knox is good.
Yeah, I think there's a good
Diggs
kind of
is
bridge
good,
period.
and I think Gabe Davis is fine when he's not number 2 and stuff like that. So we'll see. But I'm not overly worried about that. Jacksonville, I have them beating the Jags. I wouldn't be shocked if this is the game where they stumble and lose one. But I think that they beat the Jags. Even though it's one where I tried to predict where some of these teams like just stumble and drop one. It could be Jacksonville, but because it's at home, I think that they beat them.
I think it's an interesting matchup. I do think,
Do it.
Is it in?
It's in Buffalo.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Or is it a London game? Because it's at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, then it could be London.
Which is why I think
either way.
all right, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I think Jacksonville takes it. In the same way, I think it's. We'll talk about Jacksonville when we get there, next time. But I thought they did a really good job improving.
Why would that be? Usually they don't. Is it Bills, Jags, London? It could be. I thought usually the home games were for Jacksonville and London.
I don't know if the NFL app is counting it for either.
Who knows?
You might be doing that.
Could be. If it's in London, I mean,
because the only
that makes it weirder.
The only
Jags
game that's at 7:30 a.m. are the London games.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I mean, babe, listen, that's cool. You could say.
So I think maybe they get a little.
Jags are more used to that trip.
Yeah, they're used to the trip. Maybe they just come off the Dolphins. So I think that I think this is in the same way that you put it. I do think it's a good chance for the Jags to catch a stumbling behemoth. And maybe you take one that, we saw it last year. I think the Jags are a good, well-coached team. I like Doug Peterson. I like Trevor. Bad. Yeah, I like Trevor. I thought they improved decently enough in the offseason.
I just won't pick them over the Bills until I see... they're the team, like your Bengals, where I'm like, show it twice.
Sure.
Anybody can do it once.
Sure.
Do it twice. And then I'll start to really think that you're one of those teams.
I think that's completely fair. As I said it, last season for the Bengals. Totally understand. I will give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll be more confident that it's less of the Jaguars proving they're a dominant force in the AFC and more of the Bills are coming off of a tough game with the Dolphins. They started 4-0. They can afford to lose one. This is a game where the Jaguars they have more to prove and they want it more. Bills are like, okay, we lose this one, fine. We're playing the Giants next week.
Yep. And as you mentioned, I'm going to just go through the next 3 really quick. Okay. Giants, Patriots, Tampa Bay, win.
Yeah.
So I actually have the Bills starting off 8-0.
Okay.
With really the only potential stumbles to me, anything can happen in week 1, but I think they're just better than the Jets.
Yeah.
And then Miami and Jacksonville, they're both like,
I think it's possible.
Could be. In fact, I think it's probably likely they drop one in there. I just wouldn't pick them to.
Sure.
So...
I'll agree with you basically, except for obviously I have the Jags pulling it off. 7-1. I don't see the Giants pulling any rabbits out of the hat and beating the Bills. The Patriots,
they're just not talented enough.
No, it's a very decent team, but I don't think decent wins games against elite talent like Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and that defense is still incredible. So I still can't name a single wide receiver on the Patriots right now.
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count?
Yeah, he's more of a TikTok star than a wide receiver.
Fair enough. All right, well, here's where I have them losing their first one. I think they lose in Cincinnati.
Wow.
If this was in Buffalo, they win. But it's in Cincinnati, so I think the Bengals get them.
Yeah, I'm going to have the Bengals win this one.
Yeah, I think he's going to have them going 17-0.
It's actually going to be really tough for me to find a loss.
But what did I have them going? Here. I'll tell you right now what I had the Bengals. Sure. I had them going 13-4.
I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Like,
were you expecting something worse?
No.
Okay,
I would. If you had gone worse, I would have. I don't think I even would have.
The worst I would have gone
is
is 12-5.
Yeah, I don't think I would have had a fun reaction because I would just be like, "You're just fucking with me, bro." Like,
no, I think it's 12-5, 13-4, something like that.
I think they could go 15-2 to be completely honest with you. But there's going to be some personal bias in that for sure.
Of course there is.
We have a little bit of an easier schedule than we did last year, which will
you definitely do.
help. Yeah.
All right, so keep it going. Like I said,
Yeah.
I think that in a contender match, I don't think that. Listen, the Bengals beat the Bills fair and square. Yada yada yada. I would be lying if I said I felt the Bills were like.
They weren't at their peak.
Last year there might not have been a more weird season for a team.
Sure.
And again, this is not me trying to make excuses for the Bills. The Bengals
Sure.
are a very good team, and they could beat them on their best day.
Mm-hmm.
But that was far from the Bills' best day.
Exactly. I was gonna say we did not see them on their best day. Even I can admit that as a fan. I mean, for the most of that game, I was afraid that Josh Allen would do Josh Allen things at any moment.
It just didn't happen.
But yeah, it just got to a point where it was like we comfortably have this game in hand. I don't have to even worry about this right now, and we're moving on. So, and that wasn't because the Bills are a bad team. Or weren't, or don't compare to the Bengals because they absolutely do. We just caught them at a really good time for us, bad time for them. So I would say in Cincy, this is a rematch of the DeMar Hamlin game last year.
Yep.
The jungle was fucking rocking during that, leading up to that game before, and I mean we looked like we comfortably had that game in hand from the get go as well. Again, that wasn't the best Bills. That wasn't the best the Bills were at that year, but it was kind of looking like we had it.
I'm also not going to be saying things like, looks like you guys had it when it's in the first quarter.
Fair enough. As a fan, I was feeling pretty good about it. But that being said, I think coming into Cincy's going to want it. The fans are going to want it. I think we get a lot more of a competitive game. Hopefully we get a full one.
You will. That's not going to happen twice.
Fingers crossed.
God forbid.
Knock on wood that never happens again, to be completely honest, for any team.
I don't think it will.
But yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting game. I think the Bengals pull it off because, and again at this point, the Bills can afford to lose against a contender like this, and there's a good chance they run into each other.
I mean, I don't think that you can ever afford to lose to contender because when you are a contender, because how that game goes can like have a big impact on where the next one is.
Sure. Counterpoint to that though is I almost don't like winning against a contender in the.
You'd rather learn
season.
more.
I'd rather learn more because, like, a great example, we beat the Chiefs, and I was like, shit. Because then I was like, okay, well, they can learn how to play better against us, and they're gonna bring new stuff to the table now because they found what doesn't work, what the Bengals like to do to limit them. Now, Andy Reid's not a dumbass. Like, Andy Reid,
No.
Andy Reid is going to fucking go to the film room, find out what didn't work, and develop great tactics to come in swinging next time. And look what happened. We ended up losing. So I would, and you could say what you want about this, that refs, Mahomes, whatever.
Listen, if you guys are going to be bitching about the Bills trying to make excuses, don't be talking like you guys.
We have not been bitching about.
No, I'm saying that I've seen a lot of people who do. And stuff like that about both those championship games every single way. When you get to the end and you're in the final group of teams and you lose, you always want to find
some reason to blame something. Yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of Bengals fans that are bashing Bills fans for the reasons that they say they lost that game. I don't want to hear a goddamn thing about you guys not just getting beat by the Chiefs. They have every ability to just beat you every time they play you.
They
just
have the
like
opportunity.
Like when you get to those final teams, they can all win. They can all beat each other at any point. They got you. It was in Arrowhead, and they got you.
It was definitely that. I'm not gonna keep talking about the Bengals because I'll take all day. But that being said, no. That being said, I think I think the Bengals pull it off. But at the end of the day, especially if these teams are both playing at their best with all of their pieces, knock on wood, it'll
be a war.
It's going to be a battle, and I could see it going both ways. Bias is going to take over though, and I'm going to say the Bengals take this one.
Fair enough. Week 10, I think this game is closer than people think, but I think that the Bills beat the Broncos. I don't think they run up the score on them, but I think they beat them.
I think the Broncos get the absolute brakes beaten off of them this year by every team they play.
That's not going to happen.
I firmly believe it. I think they'll put up more points than they will last year because it'd be fucking impossible almost
Then how
to not
do they get the brakes beat off them?
Well, I think the Bills are just going to put up 48 or something like that. Like the Broncos might put up 24, which would have helped them out last year.
Fair enough. I think
losing by 3 touchdowns.
I think that almost the max a team is going to get on the Broncos is going to be around 30 if their offense is better. Because half the reason why the Broncos defense would end up giving up points near the end of games is they've just been out there forever.
No, and I totally get that too. I think this is kind of.
I also think the Broncos defense does match nicely with the Bills because I would just be like, Surtain, go follow Diggs, and then everybody else will find our matchups.
Sure,
but just it ain't gonna be him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my bias is shown again with the Broncos clearly, which I'm not going to deny.
At least you're admitting it.
Oh, I'm very upfront about my biases. 100%. I think Russ is just completely washed, and I think you could bring in a Sean Payton, but I think Sean Payton's probably got an idea of who he wants to run his offense, and I don't know if Russell Wilson fits into what he's looking for. Russell Wilson tried very hard last year to be a pocket presence quarterback, and
I don't think he's going to ask him to be.
I don't think he's going to ask him to be either, but I think when you can't rely on your quarterback to be a good thrower of the football, you're in a bad spot. So I think, especially when you're playing against an elite quarterback who does not make a lot of mistakes, and when he does, he makes up for them.
I mean, that's why I said the Bills win. I just don't think this is an ass-kicking.
I think it's an ass-kicking, but that's, again...
Fair enough.
It's a bias.
Here's a sweep I have, though. I think they sweep the Jets.
Yeah, I think they do, too. I think this is... I think the Jets will put up more of a fight at this point of the season and kind of have a groove going, but I just don't think they match up to the Bills.
Yeah. I'll explain why I think that this could also be bad for the Jets, but we'll get to them soon.
Sure.
I think the Bills go to Philly and lose.
Really?
The Eagles have the exact thing that messes up the Bills, which is the Bills don't have a great O-line. Sure. And the Eagles are fucking monsters in both trenches.
Yeah,
maybe they win. Josh Allen will have to be superhuman because he is going to be running.
Yeah,
I think you mix that with the fact that, listen, the Eagles aren't bad on offense either.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is it's certainly the first time they play them. Maybe if they play them again, Super Bowl or something like that, and after they've seen how their pass rush works, maybe they get a better feel of it.
Sure.
But I think the first time they do it, they're just going to have a huge problem because up to this point in the year, you can look at every single one of these teams and you can be like, okay, New England has Judon, Miami has a nice stable of guys, but nobody elite. Cincinnati is Hendrickson and all that type of stuff. Philly's pass rush is way better than all of them.
Yeah, Philly's pass rush.
So I think that they just run into a buzzsaw, and I think that part of the mental part of it wears in them also. The next 2 weeks after Philly is their bye week and then Kansas City.
Mm.
I wouldn't be shocked in the least bit if A, they're ready for the bye by this point, and B, that they would not be looking ahead to Kansas City.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a lot of things going into this. They have a later bye. They could be tired and a little banged up, and Kansas City's looming. I think Philly gets them.
I will agree with you. I think Philly actually does take it as well. But I will jump ahead I'll come back to the Eagles in just a second, but I will jump ahead and say that I think they beat the Chiefs next week.
I got the same thing.
Okay, cool.
I think they beat Kansas City.
Yeah, I think
of all the teams in the AFC, people can talk about how the Bengals have beat the Chiefs and stuff like that. I think the team that's actually built to beat the Chiefs is the Bills.
I wouldn't disagree.
The brakes just fell off them last year before they had the chance to do it.
I wouldn't disagree. To be honest with you, when it comes to the Bengals and Chiefs, I really think it just comes down to Joe Burrow being a fucking animal. That dude fucking hates to lose. That dude loves beating the Chiefs for some reason. I would say it's almost like...
I mean, he loves to beat everybody, I think.
Well, yeah. I'm not... And, don't... Duh. Joe Burrow likes to fucking win.
I think that they get up more for each other, but I think too much has been made of the quote-unquote records between those teams because the 3 times they've played are close as a son of a bitch.
I really think the only difference comes down to is just which quarterback gets the final play, the final chance to play in those games. And
or somehow one of those defenses figures it out for a week.
Exactly.
That'd be the ultimate shocker if all of a sudden one time they play and one of those offenses just gets shut down, then the other one has a problem.
Exactly. So I will strictly say the Bengals-Chiefs rivalry has definitely been fun, and it's nice to be on the winning side of a rivalry, especially since we're just getting smoked by the Browns right now.
Of all the teams.
I know.
I just love it. For every team that can take down the perceived big bad team,
This is the black
there's always
magic.
one team where it's just like, how do you do it?
This is the black magic like sacrifice game that we make. Is we lose to the
Browns.
we lose to the Browns, but we can beat anybody else as long as we don't run into the Browns in the playoffs. Which, spoiler alert, we're not going to do this year.
We'll see.
I genuinely believe like it really comes down to two elite quarterbacks playing at some of the top of the game that we have right now.
Yes, but break down the Bills and Chiefs. We'll get to the Chiefs and Bengals later.
But yeah, they're great.
I mean, here's the thing. Here's the other thing that I think nobody's talking about enough. Everybody's really enjoying talking about how, like, oh, Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes are better than Josh Allen. They are not.
Really?
He is absolutely their level. He's asked to do more than both of them.
Sure.
Like,
I would say
his what he does for his team is more than both of them.
Sure.
And like, and again, this isn't me trying to bash either of them. Those are like, you're talking about like the A+ tier, but everybody's like trying to take their little shots at him right now. I wouldn't be shocked at all. This is also why I wouldn't be shocked if they do beat Cincinnati, because I think they're going to be more pissed off when they play when they play them. I think they're going to be pissed off when they play Kansas City.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I think that people are really enjoying making like the little jokes and things. Make no mistake, any given time any of those three play each other, any of them can just absolutely outgun the others.
I agree.
And Josh Allen has every capability of just beating either of those two. And I think that the Mahomes-Allen-Burrow debate has become like a little intellectually dishonest. In that we might have the three right names,
yeah,
but nobody's like talking about them in proper context.
I have all three at the top, and they're interchangeable. I agree.
That's what I'm saying. But I think everybody,
strictly where it needs
everybody's just. I think a lot of people are being really stupid in how they talk about the Bills.
I think everybody wants a best quarterback in the league.
Of course,
because
I think that. I mean, listen. There is a consensus one. Listen, your guy conceded it.
Yeah, but that's because
now.
That's because he's humble.
Yes, for now. Hey, but it is what it is.
And because
right now,
he conceded
there
it.
is a top
one. And guess
one.
what Jamar Chase said 2 seconds after? He's like, nah.
Yeah, and then Jamar Chase just got cooked.
Yeah, well, whatever. That's so dumb. Social media in general. I mean, we could talk about it for the rest of this episode.
We will, and we're not going to. All I'm saying is this: Josh Allen has every capability of outgunning Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes anytime they play. And I think that for some reason, other than, the 13-second thing everybody knows, but for the most part, Josh Allen has not struggled to play well inside Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Like, playing in Kansas City, it's so weird that every time they freaking play, it's in Kansas City, even in the regular season. This game never happens in Buffalo.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not saying it's like a conspiracy theory. It's just like a note. It's like the last 3 or 4 times they've played, it's in Kansas City.
Yep.
I'd love to see the game in Buffalo once, just to see.
It would be interesting.
But I'm going to keep moving on here because we're taking too much time on some of these games. I think
games.
they beat Kansas City. I think Dallas is a game that they could lose for the same reason as the Philly thing, but I think they'll beat Dallas.
I think they beat Dallas
but
too.
If they do not block Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, a guy like that, they will lose.
I think it's definitely going to be based on their O-line versus the D-line. I'll say the same thing, that they definitely easily could struggle. What it comes down to for me is Dak Prescott versus Josh Allen. I think if Josh Allen is struggling and Dak Prescott is struggling, I'm going to assume that Josh Allen will be able to, through struggling, still pull off a win. Dak, on the other hand, does not give me that confidence.
True.
So personally, it'll be interesting to see how the Cowboys do this year. The fact that one quarterback is being silent and going to work, and the other one has to come out and say, "I'm not throwing more than 10 interceptions this year." Personally, I don't see it going very well for the Cowboys. And when it comes down to Week 15, I think this is going to be a game where Buffalo's rolling. They just came off of a win against one of their bigger AFC rivals right now, which is the Chiefs. And they're going to keep that going.
I think that's actually one of the unspoken factors that could work against them. If they beat the Chiefs, you're coming out such an emotional high that you could lull and Dallas could get you.
I think it's definitely
possible. That works either way. I'll have to see how I feel about them at the time.
Yeah.
The next 3 games...
We're talking about December right now, which is crazy to
So the next 3 games, I think 2 of them are pretty simple to me. Okay. They sweep New England in Week 17. They'll lose in Miami Week 18, depending on the health of the Dolphins. I just said that... Like I said, if there's two good teams in a division, I'll just essentially give them the home and road split. The game that I think is going to be closer, but I still think the Bills win, is the Charger game.
Okay.
Because the other thing that's forgotten in this, and this is particularly coming from Eagles fans, is Eagles fans saying that like all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is better than Justin Herbert.
Oh,
that is absolutely asinine.
That's untrue.
And Justin Herbert's another quarterback that, when given the chance, can sling it with the very best of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
look at some of those games against the Chiefs.
He is like, he's one good playoff run away from being in the same tier with Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes. In terms of talent, he's absolutely right there. You just got to give them the edge because of accomplishment thus far.
Absolutely.
But in terms of actual, like, if I was going to pick the top 5 quarterbacks to start a franchise with, he's 4. And it's
100%.
behind just those other 3 that everybody seems to unanimously agree
100%.
are essentially the top 3.
100%.
So I think that game could be closer than you think, but I also suspect that in a game like that, the Chargers Charger.
That's what I was going to say. I would love to be fun and say the Chargers could pull this one off, and they could.
I'm not shocked by it, but goddamn, I'm not going to pick them too.
It's tough to pick them in because, like, here's the thing: I'm not discrediting Herbert at all.
No, he's great. Some of this is that fucking team.
I'm 100% with you that he's top 4 potentially. Yeah,
I'd put him 4.
I'd put him 4. And personally, I think he can hang with the rest of them, like you said. Look at some of the throws he made when the season's
I was talking
to
an Eagles fan, and he was like, "Oh, dude, Jalen Hurts is better than Justin Herbert." I'm like, if Howie Roseman could trade Jalen Hurts for Justin Herbert now, he would. And if Justin
100%.
Herbert was your quarterback, you would have won the Super Bowl.
Oh, 100%. I don't disagree in the slightest. I'm a huge Herbert fan, and I think he can hang with the best of them. Look at some of the throws he made against the Raiders when the season's on the line. Look at some of the throws he's made when he's going head-to-head with Mahomes at a much younger age than anybody else.
He's done great things.
It's Brandon Staley.
There is something... That's part of it. I think
it's the Chargers.
We're going to do an episode where we like talk about coaches and who's probably like... Who's got a lot of pressure this year.
Sure.
That's one of them.
Oh, 100%. Seeing as Sean Payton...
We'll get to them because we're doing the Chargers later.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that's the game in the final 3 that I'm putting it as a Bills win.
Mm-hmm.
But for the same reason I say that the Bills can beat the Chiefs or the Bengals or any of those 3 could do it also, I would say the Chargers are in that same type of group of, on their good days, they could beat any team in this league.
Yep.
Because they got a dude who is that dude.
Yep.
And they can do it. I think that the biggest difference between the Bengals, Chiefs in particular, and like the Bills and the Chargers is that coach ain't it.
Yeah.
And I would say that of the 4 teams, the reason why the Chiefs are favored to win them all in general is Andy Reid is so much better than the other coaches.
Yeah, I can't. I cannot deny that again, especially because
we'll get to Kansas City. I'm just putting the perspective on it. Chargers game I think is closer than people think, but Bills win.
Yeah, I agree.
We got to move a pretty good clip here. Jets, because we've taken almost half an hour to get through one of them.
Sheesh.
All right, so Jets. Week 1, pretty simple. We already say they lose to the Bills.
Yep.
I think the next 2, Dallas, New England, they both win.
Okay.
How about you? We on the same page through 3?
I'm sorry, my schedule.
Buffalo, Dallas, New England.
Buffalo,
I got
Dallas.
them 1 and 2. I got them 2 and 1, losing Week 1 to the Bills.
And you got them losing to Dallas too.
No, I got them beating Dallas. So
okay.
2 and 1. Win Dallas, win New England, lose Buffalo.
Yeah.
Because I think Dallas just drops one.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one. I really wish I could.
And here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Their next 3: Kansas City, Denver, Philadelphia. I think they lose Kansas City. I think they lose to Denver, but I think they beat the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's the game. That's a game that the Eagles drop, and I think that's the game also where things are getting desperate for the Jets.
Sure.
And I think that they pull one off, and Aaron Rodgers does an Aaron Rodgers thing and just outguns the Eagles.
I think it's possible.
And not to mention this, the other part of this is the Jets' defense is better than the Eagles' defense.
I would agree. I would say personally, I think they beat.
You're gonna say they beat Denver.
They beat Denver. I think Denver. I don't think Denver pulls that one off. I really just don't believe in Denver at all. And that take the bias out of this. I think.
Well, here's my. You and I can both present our logic real quick for the Denver one. I think the Broncos' offense is getting better. We both acknowledge that, right?
I think Sean Payton makes any offense.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So their offense is getting better.
Yes.
Great. I think their defense is better than the Jets. And I think that the Jets have less weapons than the Broncos.
Okay.
Surtain clamps down Garrett Wilson.
I think that's...
Who else is he throwing to?
He's got Lazard if he
Great.
wants him, yeah.
How'd that work out?
They
missed the playoffs last year.
Okay, but Lazard's not a 1.
No, and their 1's going to be gone. And the Broncos secondary is really good.
But that's the thing. If you have your guy at a 2 or 3, you're able to find. It's Aaron Rodgers, man.
I think that the Broncos defense is better than the Jets defense.
Okay.
The Broncos offense is more advanced than it was last year, and I think this is a low scoring game either way.
Sure.
And I think that the Broncos are just the first of 25.
I think that's a fair assessment. Personally, I don't believe in the quarterback over the Broncos. Obviously, I've made that clear for the past year and a half. I firmly believe that I've seen the Broncos offense.
You and I are on opposite ends of this. I think
We
Denver
are.
beats the Jets for the last playoff spot.
Really? Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think Sean Payton is a phenomenal coach, and that needs to be stated right now. The fact that Sean Payton coming to Denver, that should be a really great hire. Should be. And my issue is strictly that you have a quarterback who is a complete fucking buffoon on and off the field. The first time you ask him to be a traditional quarterback, granted this is Hackett's offense, so you know what? I will give the benefit of the doubt and say, look, you fired the problem. But because you can't say your quarterback's the problem when you fucking paid him without fucking a single snap, and you traded a bounty of fucking picks that are going to make NFL teams for the next fucking 20 years reconsider trading any pieces because of how fucking crazy that draft haul was. And it ended turning into the 5th overall pick.
Yeah, that was an annoying one.
Personally, just to get my Denver logic out of the way and to move on, I don't think if your engine's bad, getting a new driver isn't really going to fix that.
That's fair. My counter to that is as soon as they fired Hackett, they started looking better. And I think that my logic all last year with the Broncos was it is impossible to diagnose the issue when everything is new and everything's unknown.
Sure.
And then when they fired one thing, which everybody could tell pretty quick was bad, it all started to look better. And they were in the game to the end with Kansas City until Russ got hurt.
That's the thing. I was actually talking to a Kansas City fan a couple days ago, and it's funny as hell. They literally are talking about the Broncos in such a positive light because they're saying every single time we play the Broncos, they play us fucking hard.
Well,
but we always win.
Well, here's a spoiler. I think they beat Kansas City and Denver this year.
I don't think they pull it off. I think it'll be close. I think Sean Payton can only do so much, but we'll get there when we get there.
We will. All right, so continuing on.
Last thing I will say really quickly. Since 2015, I stuck with that team for fucking 6 years. Every single year.
You can say it all you want. Doesn't matter now.
No. This is all I'm saying. I get that. But every single year, that offense was supposed to be better. We brought in this piece, that piece, this piece, that piece. It never worked.
There's tangible reason to believe it would be better now, though.
There's actual tangible reason, but there was tangible reason last year.
Yeah.
And it was the worst we've seen since.
I think it's easier for a coach to make an offense better than a quarterback.
Like I said, I'm a big Sean Payton fan.
Fair enough.
I hope he gets his quarterback.
All right. Do you think they lose or win to Philly?
I will say Philly beats them.
All right. So going into the bye, I think we both have them 3-3, but just with a different combination of wins and losses.
Wait, let me.
Do you have them beating Kansas City?
No way. I have them 2-4, I think. Don't I?
You think Dallas beats them?
No, you're right.
So we have 3. Okay. So we have them 3-3. We've just essentially flipped the Philly and Denver loss.
Pretty much.
All right. They beat the Giants.
Yeah, they beat the Giants.
I think the Chargers beat them.
I do think the Chargers beat them.
They beat the Raiders.
I think they beat
They
them.
lose the Bills.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that they get a little run here. I think they win the home game with Miami because they're getting into the cold time. They beat Atlanta. They beat Houston. We on the same thing here? Or
Yeah.
do Miami lose?
No, I got them beating all 3.
I got them losing in Miami.
I have them sweeping Miami.
Okay?
Yeah.
Beat Washington, beat Cleveland, and I think that at the very end of the year, New England beats them.
I could agree with that.
Because I think that Belichick has a way with the Jets.
And
he also has a way when they've played Rodgers. He hasn't, Rodgers, obviously, they'll do some stuff sometimes, but, There's something about the Patriots. They also love to play spoiler.
Yep.
And I think that the Patriots don't make the playoffs. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But I think Week 18, the Jets are going to be like on the line to make the playoffs, and the Patriots just spoil it.
I think it's.
So I think that New England just beats them at the end.
I think it's possible. It's one of those things, especially because they played earlier in the year.
Yeah.
You have all season to figure out. You know, you will now have all seasons worth of tape on this team. Belichick will find a way.
I also think that here's the thing I'm not so confident of with the Jets. I don't think they start off hot, and I think this team is so damn confident in itself. It's not going to respond well when they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers doesn't strike me as like the Tom Brady kind of like
never dude
that kind of leader.
If you want to ask any
Especially
team,
now.
if you want to ask any team about what it's like to just own Aaron Rodgers, like
and
he does not respond well when he is not ahead.
And this guy just doesn't like and I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan.
I think
like,
he's gonna hate the New York media.
I think he just doesn't give a shit. I think the only reason he's literally just Favre 2.0. Like they literally told him, like the Packers told him, like, all right, we're done. Like we don't give a shit. And he literally was like, I thought I was gonna retire in Green Bay. Like for some reason he had that built up in his head for the longest time. Even seeing all these quarterbacks.
I understand why.
No. I'm not gonna say fucking it's impossible to that he this entire situation was impossible.
He was one dark cave away from retiring as a Packer.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that this dude wanted to fucking retire.
That's my other prediction.
Yeah.
When they miss the playoffs, he retires.
Oh, 100%. I think this is just a one more year kind of thing. He's not going to do anything special. And I think this is just to prove to Green Bay that he's still got it, but he's not going to have it any way that he used to.
And by the way, I'm not saying that the Jets are terrible. I've got them finishing 10-7, but I don't think in the AFC 10-7. I think they just miss.
Yeah, I genuinely, it's noticed. I think Aaron Rodgers is still an excellent quarterback. I just don't think his head and heart is in the game as much as it used to be. And that's a big.
I'm not even going to say his head and heart's not in it. I'm going to say he's such a mercurial dude that even if he starts off in it, it can switch. Yeah. And I think that he's never responded super great when things aren't going awesome. And I think you crank it up like 100 times in terms of pressure in New York City and not in Green Bay. I think that this team could sort of mentally just unravel.
I think you could drain the fuck out of him and he quits.
Fair enough.
At the end of the year, kind of like the way you said.
All right, so moving on. We'll do Miami because New England's going to be pretty easy to do. Okay, so Miami, Week 1 in LA at the Chargers. I think the Chargers beat them Week 1.
I think the Chargers win Week 1.
All right. New England, they beat New England. I think at New England, I think they beat them. I think they also beat Denver. And then they lose in Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think 2-2 start.
Yep.
They lose to Denver, or they beat Denver, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They beat the Giants. They beat Carolina. I have them beating Philly because I think that game, they just have the type of things that give Philly issues. It's a lot of motions. It's a lot of speed. It's a lot of things to keep track of.
Sure.
And the one thing Philly's defense struggled with was motions and switching and passing things off.
Sure.
And it's still at the point in the year where I suspect Miami's healthy. And so I think that they actually snatched one from Philly.
I think they beat the Giants, beat the Panthers, and then I actually have them losing to the Eagles.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
They beat New England again. I got them sweeping them. They lose to Kansas City in a London game. Or is this a Germany game? It's a European game.
It is an out-of-town game.
Yeah, it's a European game.
Yep.
Which makes it weirder. Like, you never know how that will affect those teams.
Yep.
So just on the basis of, again, until I see Kansas City can't do it, I'm going to say they beat Miami. I agree. And then they go into the bye week. And they come out of the bye week with a nice, easy layup with the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I can't really complain. I think they do get the sweep on the Patriots. I'd love to say otherwise because I obviously don't like Miami as much, but I don't think that Patriots offense has any chance to match what the Dolphins.
The only way that, and again, Miami has a higher chance this unravels on a very simple factor. If Tua gets hurt early, it can all unravel. Mm-hmm. But I'm predicting these games with the assumption of like core health. Yeah, I expect injuries to happen, but when you're going through and projecting these things, it's sort of like there's only a couple teams where you're like, okay, I suspect something's going to happen, but I've got to see it.
Personally, this is one team that I would expect something to happen, but until the season's actually in swing, I'm not going to say, oh, this is the week that he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And then he's going to be out for 4 weeks. Like, no, I won't say that at all. This is a team where I'd be like, assuming Tua plays a full season, the Dolphins,
they're good.
Running with that system, can be very profitable.
Yeah, and
that's why productive.
That's why I'm just trying to acknowledge it. Where I'm like, obviously,
we talked about the Bills.
This can fall apart.
Yep.
But
any team could fall apart.
Yes, but I'm mentioning with them because they're more likely because it's happened to him.
Yep.
But I am making these with the assumption of like generally you're going to have your quarterback's health.
Exactly, and I would say.
But I still have them losing to the Jets in Week 12 in New York.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with you on that one. I do think they pull it off, and then I also would say that they pull off the Raiders because that one will be easier.
Yes.
I think they lose to the Jets. They beat the Commanders.
Yep.
And then I actually have them losing to the Titans.
I think that's the game where I have that as a stumble game, but I would pick them because even with adding D-Hop, the Titans' defense is sort of in a rebuild phase, and I think if your defense is in a rebuild phase, you're in bad shape playing Miami.
I think if they can do keep away with Derrick Henry and getting and
stay over there.
It's like if they can keep that offense off the field for as much as possible, I do think it is potential.
Totally fair.
Just depends on what the Titans' offense can
I think the Titans are always a team that can cause problems because I compare them a lot to the 49ers in this regard, where in a league where a lot of teams play very finesse, the Titans do not.
Yep.
And on any given week, depending on the team, they can just bully you.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen, it's worked to the tune of beating Kansas City and Baltimore and Buffalo and every good team. If you catch them on a game where you're not, like, you didn't bring your hard hat, they'll beat you.
Yeah. And
I just think that because Tennessee sort of tore it down in some aspects, particularly on defense and stuff like that, as much as they want to do it, I just don't know that they can. I think that every game is kind of like a track race with the Dolphins, and they just aren't going to be able to keep up. I think this is a game that could be close, but I just don't think Tennessee is the horses right now.
I don't know if they've got the horses, but they've definitely got the bulldozer.
Also, who the hell's playing quarterback in Tennessee is the problem. Because this isn't an injury thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is perfectly possible that if at a certain point in the season Tennessee isn't where they want, they could just switch to Will Levis.
Yeah.
And just try to start getting him reps.
Yeah.
And if they do that, I really don't think they beat Miami.
No, if Levis is in, it's more of a learning experience in my opinion. But I will say this is under the assumption that they are playing decently enough to be in contention for the AFC South.
Yeah.
And that they have Tannehill in, and they are able to do what the Titans
Fair.
are known to be doing.
There was literally one reason why I give them a chance in this game, and it's because I just think so highly of Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
He gets the most out of them, and they'll fight you to the bitter end.
And again,
I just don't think my stance on them is this just isn't the year that they're talented enough to beat a team that loaded the hell up.
Yeah.
So I think it's that simple. And then I think Week 15, I think they beat the Jets at home.
Okay.
I think they lose to Dallas because their O-line is also not elite, and I think that this is the game where Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, they just eat them up.
Yeah, I think I have them.
They also have an opportunistic defense of if you throw it up just hastily, Trayvon Diggs will just come down with it.
Sure.
So I think that Dallas has the unique blend of things of that could be problems.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head if I have them splitting with the Jets or getting swept. I'm pretty.
I thought you said that you had the Jets sweeping Miami.
Yes, that I was literally gonna say. I was like, "What did I have them specifically losing one game?"
No, you had you said you had the Jets sweeping Miami.
I think they lose. I think it strictly comes down to Aaron Rodgers versus Tua. I pick Aaron Rodgers every time.
Totally fair. I just picked the Dolphins roster over the Jets,
and I can respect that for sure. I do think they lose to the Cowboys though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I
got them beating Baltimore.
Really. I was going to give Baltimore the nod.
Well, because that's the team where I anticipate attrition just does them in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially at that point in the year, there's a very good chance Lamar, Odell, any combination of the running backs, they could all be having problems. And the other thing is that Miami loaded up on defense in several regards. Bring in Jalen Ramsey, they bring in a linebacker from Tennessee, and most importantly, they hired Vic Fangio, who's one of the best defensive callers in the league, and all the best defenses in the league currently stem from his system.
Mm-hmm.
So Miami's going to take a step up on defense, and theoretically, health withstanding, remain really elite on offense.
I think you convinced me. I'm gonna go Dolphins
Fair
over
enough.
Ravens on this.
I got most of the Ravens' losses. I had them collecting some late season losses because of that.
Okay.
And
to be fair, I'm not very big on the Ravens.
I know
this
you're
season.
not.
Well, obviously,
you're
with
just
my
like
bias.
literally any reason at all to give Baltimore a loss. You've twisted my arm and you've convinced me.
Twist my arm and convince me, baby. Like, Ravens are the real. No.
And then I think they beat Buffalo in Week 18.
Okay, I've got them losing.
I have two potential reasons for this.
Okay.
I think at this point in the year, Buffalo's clinched. Sure. Like, potentially, like, there's seed in general, and Miami's probably still battling to get in.
I think it's absolutely possible.
I think that, or, hell, I wouldn't be shocked. It's possible if Miami stayed healthy all the way through. The AFCs could come down to the end because I think there's 3 teams in there that have the potential to all be legitimately good.
Sure.
Until I see different, it's going to be Buffalo that gets picked.
I think I've got the Dolphins losing this one. I think actually I have the Jets knocking them out for one of the wild cards.
Fair enough. I've got them as the top wild card spot at 12-5.
I think it's possible. I have them at 10-7.
And then New England. I'm going to go through this one fast because this is pretty simple to me. Week 1, Philly, lose. Yeah. Week 2, Miami, lose. Week 3 at the Jets, lose. Week 4 at Dallas, lose.
Yeah.
Granted, that is a really rough stretch to start the season, in terms of opponents.
If they pull off one win, I'd be impressed.
If they pull off one win, I think it's anything can happen Week 1, and they could beat Philly Week 1, or they beat the Jets because, like I said, Bill Belichick just has a way with the Jets.
Yeah.
But I think Dallas gets them. Dallas can always drop one, but I just wouldn't pick them to. But I think they start off 0-4, and then I think they beat New Orleans.
I'll say 1-3. They beat the Cowboys.
All right, fair enough. Yeah. And then I think they do beat New Orleans, and I think they beat Las Vegas.
I would love to make an argument for the Saints, but I don't have one.
I think them and the Saints are of a similar caliber.
Yeah.
I just trust Belichick in New England more than I trust the Saints.
I'm a little bit more in on Mac Jones. I could not name the Saints.
I'm also more in on the idea that Bill O'Brien is going to make the Patriots offense good.
Oh, sure.
Lost in the whole thing of how it ended in Houston is that he was actually a really good coach of the Texans.
Yep.
He was a really bad GM of the Texans. As a coach, Bill O'Brien is legit.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad at all.
And I mean,
some of his offenses
is it going to be
incredible.
Worse than the Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, Frankenstein's monster?
No way it could be that bad.
The Patriots' offense will be better. Mac Jones is going to look better. I just don't think they have the horses to compete with the really good teams in the league. But Las Vegas and New Orleans to me are not.
And I know that Jackson Smith-Njigba is not exactly who the Patriots like to bring into their
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Well, kind of, but the style of player.
Oh.
No disrespect, because he went as high as he did for a reason, and I think he's going to have a really good season this year.
For the fucking Seahawks.
For the Seahawks, which bums me out because I didn't want him going there. But
you didn't.
I know I didn't. I know you really didn't want it, but
because I like him.
I know they didn't that's not the type of wide receiver they like to bring into their offense, but I really don't understand why you just don't. If you're going to Brandon Cooks the guy and trade him after 2 years, then be my fucking guest.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, it was a glaring need, and you brought in, granted, one of the best corners, and...
We'll see how it all works out. The Patriots don't have a great track record of drafting receivers, but we'll see. I don't know.
If I'm Mac Jones, I'm watching the draft, and I am fucking throwing shit afterwards.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset.
Yeah, and it's not football.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, Buffalo and at Miami, I think they lose both.
Yeah.
So I've got them...
I have them 1 in, I think...
No, you got them 3, because you're giving them New Orleans, Vegas, and Dallas.
Yeah. That's right.
So I've got them at 2-6 right now.
Yeah.
And then I do think that they go on a nice little run where they beat Washington, they beat Indianapolis, they go into their bye,
undefeated,
and they beat the Giants.
I think that's possible.
So I think that they get themselves to 5-6, and then the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Where I think the Chargers beat them.
Yep.
Pittsburgh beats them.
I think so too.
Kansas City smokes them.
Yeah, no chance that goes well.
Denver beats them, but I think it's closer. But I think what the crux of it with that is they're not going to be able to fucking score.
Yeah.
On Denver.
Yeah.
Buffalo beats them, and then I think they just spoiled the Jets at the end.
For my bias, I 100% wish I could say that the Broncos lose, but I do think this is a game that they can win and do so handily. I think they lose to the Bills, and then I Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have them playing spoiler at the end of the year for the Jets.
Yeah, I love that. I just love the idea of it too.
It's just too perfect, especially in your situation where they literally knock the Jets out of playoffs. It's like that would be the most Jets thing ever.
It'd also be the most. It'd also be the most Patriots way. Like even if the Patriots aren't great, they'll find a way to make sure you don't move on.
Exactly, especially a division rival.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I wish it. I genuinely kind of like the Patriots because Bill Belichick.
I like the Patriots, obviously.
Obviously. I want to be able to see them well again, especially because for 20 years we saw them be good. Like, I don't like seeing a dynasty fall off the way that it has. So for me, I would like to see them pull it off, but it's really going to be a rough year for them.
Yeah. All right, so my overall AFC standings in terms of how I got it right now, I got Bills 14-3, Dolphins 12-5, Jets 10-7, Patriots 6-11.
I can't remember my actual records.
You don't have to. That's why I got like a whole fucking chart of mine.
Yeah.
But you don't have to.
I did not do my homework.
I think that the only difference between you and me, like record, like whatever record you specifically had was standing, I think yours went Bills, Jets, Dolphins, Pats.
Yeah.
And mine is Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Pats.
Yeah, I have the Dolphins losing a couple more games.
Yep.
And the Jets winning a few more.
Yep. All right. So on to the AFC West.
Okay.
All right. Let's start off with Kansas City.
Sure.
As I'm sure everybody can imagine, this is not going to be a bad season for Kansas City, barring the injury to Patrick Mahomes in Week 1.
Which would be very nice.
I'm not going to root for that because that'd be like...
I'm just kidding.
Because that'd be like when the Pats lost Brady for a whole year, the first drive. It's like... It just sucks for the league.
And that's a waste of money.
All right, so Week 1, I was so tempted to say Detroit wins.
I'll say it.
Because
Detroit wins, baby.
Like, here the only
Week 1, anything could happen.
The only reason I'm not saying it's that is because the Chiefs they've always started hot. There are some teams that like seem to sputter and start slow.
Sure.
The Chiefs haven't.
Yeah.
I would love Detroit to do it, and I think they're tough enough that that's going to be a game. Like, I don't think Kansas City's blowing them out. Just the way Kansas City tends to start seasons, they tend to be like shot out of a gun to start the year. I think that they'll get the jump on Detroit in Week 1. But this is but it would almost be a moral victory for Detroit, where they're going to beat them by like a field goal.
It's going to be very similar to like the Eagles game, where they were very close to beating the Eagles.
Yeah.
And that's more of a moral victory at this point. But at the same time, you look back on it and you're like, well, the Eagles managed to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're really good.
They were really good. And Detroit was right fucking there.
I think in some ways, I think the expectations on Detroit this year is they break through and get to the playoffs, but they're not a Super Bowl contender yet.
Yeah.
And I think that hanging with Kansas City, even if they don't beat them, is like sort of a validation of like, okay, we probably have the right read on them.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to happen. But again, I won't take too much away from it either way because of the Week 1 thing.
I'll say screw it. Week 1, Lions really want to prove that this is a new era of Lions
football. I agree with that. They buy
Um,
some kneecaps, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one that they're going to be running in and basically run through a wall-level motivation because Dan Campbell can do that for his squad. I'll say Week 1, anything can happen. Chiefs are going to be fine. It's not a sign that they are going to take a massive misstep this year. I don't think that's the case at all. I think the Lions just really want it Week 1 and come into Arrowhead, pull off an improbable dub, and Kansas City comes back next week against the Jaguars, and it's business as usual.
They beat Jacksonville. I got them beating Jacksonville, too.
Yeah, they're going to beat Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They're going to beat the Bears.
I wonder, are they going to manage to beat Chicago? They are going to put such a beating on Chicago.
Chicago's not going to get anything
Oh,
done.
God.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
I think they beat the Jets, too.
They beat the Jets. I think they beat the Vikings.
Beat the Vikings? Beat Denver at home?
I think they beat Denver at home. I think they lose to the Chargers.
That's where I got their first loss.
I have Justin Herbert comes into Arrowhead, pulls it off.
He's won an Arrowhead before. It's weird.
Oh, yeah, I know.
The weird stat is Mahomes has never lost a division game on the road.
Which is weird.
The division games he's lost are in Arrowhead.
I know, just weird.
Which is it's
Protect your house, man.
I know. Yeah, come on, Pat, do better.
Yeah, come on, dude.
No, I think they lose there, and I think they lose at Denver.
I think
we're going to disagree on that.
We're going to disagree on that. They get the sweep. I think Denver will absolutely do what they do every single year, and they will probably play Kansas City very close because it is a personal vendetta at this point. They have been swept 4 or 5 years in a row.
Patrick Mahomes has never lost the Broncos.
Yeah, I think that continues this year, but again, I will say The Broncos offense has to be better. There's almost no chance that it's worse. And if it is, then you really do know you have to get rid of your quarterback. If I don't think that's going to be the case, I think Russ is still not the guy, but I think I don't think he's the guy for anyone at this point in his career. I think that it's a close game because they always play close. Sorry, Broncos fans, you're going to have to wait another season to potentially pull one away from Mahomes.
The way I view it is this. They play them really close every single time. I think that you know your division opponents really well.
Sure.
Sean Payton is one of, like, maybe 5 or 6 coaches in the league that can, like, look Andy Reid in the eye and not be outclassed.
It's a chess match. It's an offensive chess match, too.
Yeah, of course.
Which is really cool.
Here's where I think the difference comes. I think that at home, Denver just gets the one stop they need to beat Kansas City on like a last-second field goal. I don't think this is a big, like, they're not, you've already said that they played them close, and there's a million reasons for them not to have ever played them close.
Sure.
There's a reason this year why a close game could flip.
No,
so I'm going to go ahead and also say that just for the sake of, like, change,
sure,
Kansas City loses 1 to Denver.
And what I will say, and then we can move on, is strictly Denver is going to have that one last opportunity to maybe pull it off, and they're going to fucking
and they're going to miss the kick.
It's not going to be as bad as this, but it's going to be fumble, turnover on the goal line, about to score to win, and it's going to be this classic.
We'll see.
Denver can't fucking do it.
We'll see. I'm just saying for now. I think that even though Mahomes has literally the perfect record against Denver right now, there's a reason Chiefs fans still have respect for that Bronco team. Yep. And like I said, this year, more than a lot of other years, there is like a proven, tangible reason to think that like you get little edges in spots that before the Broncos didn't have them.
I think it's completely possible.
I think when that's possible, and again, listen, I have the Broncos doing pretty well for a couple reasons. Number one, I've seen this with my team. If you're a team that the score, other than like 1 or 2 weeks a year where it just happens, when the score can't really get run up on you, every game is pretty much within striking distance, you'll beat a couple teams that theoretically should have an edge on you, even when your quarterback sort of has to get carried to it.
Yep.
So, I mean,
I think it's possible.
Like, look, my team got to the fucking Super Bowl and almost beat Kansas City with that exact method.
Sure.
So, that's
almost.
just the type... Yeah, almost. But there's a lot of...
Keyword there.
No, but there's a lot of almost to go on. Like,
sure.
we beat you guys the last time we played you. Is Joe Burrow worse than Jimmy Garoppolo?
No.
Okay, then. So I'm just saying.
That's not what
I'm saying. Like this, like that method of if the score is it's tough to get away from you, and they are improving schematically and fundamentally in every phase of their offense, they're going to steal more of the games. Like they'll do. I mean, what was it? If they averaged 17 last year, they were 10-7. They would average.
Yeah.
They're going to average more than 17.
Yeah, if they had scored 18 points in like 10 games, they were like 9-1 in those games.
Yeah,
like
they will have
just
it
bonkers to me.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is the Broncos defense is one of those defenses that's a defense that keeps you in these games, and if you're just not abysmal, you'll win more than you'll lose. Mm. And granted, Kansas City is better than the Broncos. I just think that this is a game where it is within a very real set of scenarios that Denver snatches one off them because they just played them tough like they always do. But this time they just don't make the dumb mistake. Yep. Because they're better prepared to not do it.
I think it's
so. I got them taking this one, and
I won't say it's
Broncos fans. I'm expecting a big thank you for potentially looking like an idiot.
I was gonna say over here he's rooting for you guys big time against that one. But I will say personally, while I do think it is more likely than it's ever been that potentially they could pull one away from Kansas City, in the same kind of mentality that we've always had about these Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, and now I'm assuming the Cincinnati Bengals, now that we've proved it again. Mm-hmm.
I've got you guys in that elite tier.
Yeah, until you prove us wrong, until you give me a reason think that you will drop one, I am going to go with Kansas City on this.
It's fair, but I also, like I said, I like to predict the spots where they stumble, and I'm more likely to predict that a surging division opponent can steal one off you rather than the random team that doesn't know you. So that's the other part of it is like there's a reason why
on these two
there's
teams.
a reason why I think the Chargers have a chance to take one off them.
Yep.
They know them.
Yep.
And like I said, and if anything, the Chiefs don't know this version of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Like, granted, Sean Payton's an established coach. You'll understand what they want to do.
Yep.
But like when a division opponent has something new and is on the rise, and I'm assuming theoretically they are on the rise, I think that you're more likely to stumble there than you are like to just have some random little team from nowhere catch you.
No, I agree.
We're going to move on from that game though because we've been on it long enough.
Yeah.
And then they apparently have the European game against Miami, and I think that they don't drop 3 in a row.
Yeah, no,
so they'll beat Miami going into the bye.
Yep.
But I think they lose to Philly out of the bye.
I think they lose to Philly. I'm going to say Philly takes the edge just because I think you can say what you want about Mahomes and Andy Reid, but I will say that the offense and the weapons that you have in Philadelphia at the end of the day, I think can.
I also think Philly's pissed.
Yeah, I think Philly wants revenge, and this will be a slight, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Like let's go get these fuckers. I think they do pull it off. It'll be interesting to see. I think the weapons over in Philadelphia are just better than what they've got in Kansas City right now.
They are.
That being said,
The only difference is
Mahomes is Mahomes, and I can't even fucking deny that. Mahomes can play well with any fucking schmuck they pick up off the street.
We talked about this last offseason, and we said at the end of the season, listen, man, the dude proved that he elevates dudes now.
Exactly. So, and you still have Travis Kelce, who is going to be fine. I don't think Travis
I
Kelce
wonder
falls
about
off.
him, not in terms of if he's bad, but he's getting to the age where out of nowhere he could drop off or get hurt.
I think he starts having some, lesser productive seasons where he's just not going to be as explosive and as open as he is. But that's the thing. With his chemistry with Mahomes and how Mahomes plays quarterback of extending plays, giving himself more time, giving his guys more time to find seams, little zones where he can be open. I think you're still going to have a successful year from Travis Kelce. Yeah, so
we're not predicting Travis Kelce's bad.
No, it's just he is getting older, so it is something that. But here's the thing: every year people have been saying Travis Kelce's getting older.
And I'm not even predicting he's bad. I'm saying that we're entering the phase of his career where it becomes more possible.
Yeah, I would agree completely, and I think he's going to keep benefiting from how Mahomes plays football. But at the end of the day, when you don't really have to worry about half these people, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, like half these guys, you don't have to really fucking put a legit number one.
I won't be shocked if Kadarius Toney starts to play more for them now.
Oh, he will.
He'll be hurt, but we'll see.
Bottom line, the offense is more complete over in Philadelphia.
They're gonna be good.
I think Philadelphia's pissed. I think this is a game that, especially after the bye week, they're doing fine in my schedule. They've only dropped 2 games, so
yeah,
it's
one of them dropping 3 now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Philly takes the game, and then they come back and beat the Raiders next week and the Packers.
I think they smoke the Raiders and they smoke the Packers, and then Buffalo catches them.
I do think Buffalo gets them. So I think,
and I don't think that's a blowout. I think that's like 48-51 Bills.
A potential January game that we're getting a preview of.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I think they beat the hell out of New England.
Yep.
They smoked Vegas again.
Yep.
And then in a close game, I think they beat the Bengals.
I
know that you're not going to say that.
I know.
But allow me to just
I'll let you say your piece.
Here's my piece. Number 1, this game is in Kansas City again. And number 2,
love it. On the road.
You already know what they're going to say after the game. That's who. you guys didn't learn your damn lesson, and you've already started mouthing off to them.
I know.
Like,
to be fair, I don't learn my lesson about mouthing off.
Doesn't matter.
This is the perfect team for me.
But I'm just saying, like, they're doing it again, and they're acting like they have the Chiefs' number when you've never, like, definitively put it on them.
I think this is our chance.
This is also their chance to do it to you.
Whatever. I think we go up 4-1.
I know. Listen. Again, I already knew that this was going to game, and I don't even think you and I are debating this game. The fact of the matter is, either of these 2 outcomes are possible. Mm-hmm. This is just where we fall on this end of the rivalry.
Yep.
Here's how I view the Chiefs and the Bengals. They're elite teams. you and I view the two quarterbacks differently. I think that they're all A pluses, but I do think Mahomes is the better one. Like, not by a lot, but if you were just going to ask me, like, which one do I start a franchise with, my first pick would be Mahomes. And I also think Andy Reid is several levels above Zach Taylor.
Sure.
I think the Bengals defense is good, but not substantially better than Kansas City's to where it's like, I think these two teams are both evenly matched, but I think your team mouths off, and I think that Kansas City is like, okay, we'll do it again.
As somebody who loves mouthing off, I love this team.
You can no, I'm sure you do. but try to tell me that did not. As soon as you saw Jamar Chase said something, what were you thinking?
I'm glad it's now and not a week before the game.
You know they'll do it then too.
They'll do it then too because we're gonna have at that point we're gonna be like 12-3.
The Chiefs are gonna pull out the line too. They're gonna be like, oh, they're gonna talk about Burrowhead again.
I really hope that we just let Burrowhead die. I hate that joke.
Find the mayor and tell him, do not talk.
I hate that fucking joke. Like, when they said Burrowhead, I was like,
You're like,
bro, when you...
Why?
I literally was like, when you win, and you're 4-0, and 3 of those games are in Arrowhead, by all means, say the fucking joke. We're going to the Super Bowl again. We're going to go potentially win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Fine, Burrowhead. That would be hilarious.
Don't say it when you're about to do it.
Don't say it when you're about to go into Arrowhead. Do you understand karma? Like, do you understand how speaking things into existence works?
That right there is the whole thing of, like, you already know that when that game's over, man, that's who.
I know. I hear it both ways, but the good news is it's the regular season. So
I know,
if we do drop this game, then hopefully we have a chance to.
The only problem is if you
around.
drop this game, you're going to have to come back into Arrowhead. Because I think that whichever team, like, granted, I think the way I actually have this working out is it's like a round robin between the 3 top teams. Like, I think Cincy beats Buffalo, Buffalo beats Kansas City, Kansas City beats Cincy. So I think
it's like Pokemon.
So it's sort of like I have a triangle of like each of them. I think have the ability of like
it's like Pokemon, man.
Yeah,
grass beats water, water beats fire, fire beats grass.
Exactly. So that's sort of how I have them. So I don't actually know how the seeding works out. Like it might be a record thing.
It could be. It's probably a record thing.
But it's sort of like at that point you better hope that Kansas City just drops another one. But I just think that the Bengals just did not learn the damn lesson. And I think that Kansas City is very eager to teach it to them again.
As somebody who doesn't,
I'm not expecting you to pick different, and I'm not expecting anything like that. I'm simply making my case for Kansas City. This is a team that's going to be really damn good, and you guys will be really damn good too. I'm not saying you're not.
Sure.
You guys are really damn good too. You're coming into their house, and you guys are going to be mouthing off still.
That's what we do, baby.
And they're going to shut you up again.
Yeah, we're going to need a ring this year to really back up our talk.
Oh God, if they beat you in the playoffs this year,
it's going to be a nightmare all over again.
Like imagine if they beat you here, then beat you in the playoffs, and now it's 3-3.
Oh yeah, that'd be really bad.
That'd be really bad.
That'd be really fucking bad. Here's my response to that is strictly we're pissed. I do think we had the opportunity to go up 4-0 and go to the Super Bowl last year and completely just dominate one side of this is the team Mahomes can't beat. And I still believe that is the case, and I do think that we learn a lot. We do learn a lot of our lesson, maybe not in the mouthing off department. We can definitely still do that. I think
you guys remind me so much of the early 2010 Seahawks,
and that's in my opinion not a fair analysis. But I will say
you're right. They won a Super Bowl.
Shut the fuck up. I will say we're not that bad. I would say that they were worse, and then they did end up getting a ring, which made it even dramatically worse.
I know.
What I would say is I think this is a team that we like being on the road, and this is I'm not going to call it Burrowhead because I do think that joke's dumb. If we had won last year, I would have been all for it. But I'm not going to get into it again.
Even Bengals fans, when they heard that joke, all of them did the same thing.
We were all just like...
Everyone gasped. They're like, no, not now.
We were like, come on. I was like, we don't forget the Bengals of the past, guys. This is just shooting yourselves in the
Not to mention,
foot.
there are some things when people will say, like, oh, is that bulletin board material, stuff like that. Most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
That is a direct affront.
That one is disrespectful to the stadium, to the fans, to the team,
to their guy,
to Mahomes, to Andy Reid. There isn't a single Chiefs fan that didn't take that fucking comment personally.
No.
And there isn't a single person in that fucking locker room who did not take that comment personally.
That one got remembered.
Oh, that one. I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking slap that shit on a
That is
wall.
literal Baltimore. And then the mayor of Cincinnati, we got to have Burrow take a paternity test to see if he's Mahomes' daddy. How dumb are you?
Yeah, that one's retarded.
There's nobody in the league who is Patrick Mahomes' daddy.
Nah, and even if we had gone 4-0 and then we won the Super Bowl,
Still don't say it.
Maybe I'd make that joke. I wouldn't make the same joke because that was a really dumb joke. But I would say something along the lines of Burrow owns Mahomes because that's just the type of guy.
Yeah, of course, but
that being said, we didn't, and now it's a really good talking point and firing up moment for any time the Chiefs play the Bengals. Now they have free pre-workout,
especially whenever it's in Kansas City.
Exactly. So they have no reason at all to be content with playing us now. And especially because not only is there fuel to the fire from being down 3-1 in a rivalry, you also now have stupid fucking mouthing off.
Who?
Jesus Christ. Just not great. But
my favorite part about it is he didn't even have to say it because Joe Burrow came out and did the right thing.
Exactly.
And then Jamar Chase just ran his mouth.
Look, I have no problem with Jamar Chase coming in and backing up his guy. Just do it in a...
Don't say it like that.
I would do it in a more polite, conversational kind of way. Be like, Joe said it because he had to. Joe, that's fine.
That's awesome, but I got my guy.
I am happy that I'm on the Bengals and not the Chiefs. If he said something along those lines, nobody would have had a problem. Travis Kelce wouldn't have had to mouth off in the middle of a freaking podcast. So 100%, I'm sitting here saying
you wouldn't have gotten that Mahomes Instagram post.
I hate Mahomes.
That's
so
who
much.
with the rings.
I hate that fucking guy so much.
Oh.
Fuck you, dude. System quarterback. But anyways, that being said, I think we go in there. I think we still have a shit ton to prove, which is something that we thrive off of, having a chip on our shoulder as the Ohio, football team that does not have a ring.
Our
right
teams
now.
have chips on our shoulders. That team has chips on their fingers.
Hopefully we can take one away this year.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
Get one of our own. If we can do that, then we can start having any conversation we want. But we gotta get shit. We gotta get shit done this year. I think it begins with riding the ship on week 17, and I really hope we get the opportunity to meet them on Championship Sunday again. Whether win or lose, I would very much like the opportunity to get some redemption from last year.
Fair enough. And then I think pretty simple, Chiefs beat the Chargers in LA.
I'm going to go with Chargers pull off this week. I'm going to be wild.
That is wild. All right, fair enough.
I'm going to say...
So I got the Chiefs overall. I got them 13-4.
I think I've got them 11-5. Or 11-6. Right? Math?
I didn't keep track of yours.
Yeah, I got them 11-6 because I've got them sweeping Denver, so I do have them 12-5.
All right. Okay. What do you want to do next? Denver, Chargers. I want to do Raiders last because they're just going to be fast.
Yeah. Let's go Chargers.
All right, Chargers.
Let's go Chargers.
Okay. Week 1, Miami, win.
Win.
Week 2, Tennessee, win.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3, Minnesota, lose.
You have them losing to Minnesota.
Yeah, the Chargers are not starting 4-0. They're going to drop one.
Okay.
And in Minnesota, that's the exact game they drop.
I'll give them... While I agree with you, and I think that's possible, I'll give them the Vikings win.
Fair enough. Vegas win.
Yeah, no shit.
Week 5, bye week. Week 6, Dallas, win, but this is dangerous.
I think they could lose this one in a classic Chargers fashion,
Yeah.
but I will say that they beat the Cowboys, and as you know, I have them beating the Chiefs.
Yep, at Kansas City, win.
Yeah.
Chicago, win.
Yeah.
Jets, I got them winning.
Yeah.
So I got them starting hot.
I got them 10 I got them 9-0. Yeah, 9-0.
9-0.
8-0. Excuse me.
I got them 7-1.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think Detroit beats them.
You know what? I will say this is a game that the Lions pop them in the mouth.
Yeah, I think the Lions are physical where the Chargers are not.
Yep.
Green Bay, they win.
Yeah.
Baltimore beats them.
I have them beating Baltimore.
New England, they win.
Yep.
Denver at home, they win.
Shit, I have them 13. What? Fucking Christ.
I know, right? You know they won't be.
Yeah, no, they're not going
I'm telling you right now, that Minnesota game, they're going to drop one.
Good Lord.
I think Dallas is the other one they could drop, but I think they win at Denver, or they win when Denver comes there, and they win at Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Buffalo at Denver and Kansas City, they all lose.
I have them losing.
I think they lose the last 3 straight.
I have them losing to Buffalo. I have them sweeping Denver, and I have. You know what? At this point, I will retract my previous statement.
You can't. I can't have that high.
I can't have them losing 2 games. That's impossible. I would say the Chiefs do get them at the end of the year.
Here's my reasoning for their losses. Minnesota is, I think, a similar level of team to them in terms of, like, they're not totally complete, but they're not, like, awful or anything
Sure.
like that.
Sure.
They're also two teams that tend to be on the wrong side of luck, but the Vikings trended the right way, and I think that they'll snag them there.
I think that's possible.
Detroit, I think Detroit's just tougher than them and will beat them. Baltimore, same reason. Baltimore plays the exact style of football the Chargers can't stop. It's physical football, it's run-based football, and I think at that point in the year, that might be where Baltimore starts to like lose the battle of attrition,
Sure.
but they're not dead yet. And I think John Harbaugh also just smashes Brandon Staley.
I think that's perfectly respectable.
You got Brandon Staley going, what, 14-3?
I think, yeah, I have him going 14-3 on paper because again, every year with the Chargers on paper is fucking amazing, and then the year happens. So I'm not even gonna pretend to predict which ones these guys are gonna drop because they could drop fucking 6 of them.
They could drop any of them, but I'm just picking the ones that I think are likely. Like,
That's fair.
Dallas is really tempting to say that Dallas beats them. I think, but the Chargers are likely to win just as many games that they're supposed to lose as lose as like the ones they're supposed to win.
Sure.
So
I think I think at any moment any one of these games could go negatively, except for the Raiders. I think they could pull off the Raiders sweep, no problem.
I got them pulling out the Raiders sweep easy.
Yeah.
I got them. So ultimately, I got them 11-6.
I have them 1-2.
You got them 13-4.
Yeah, I do have them 13-4.
Fair enough.
Which if they go 13,
I think that's better than you had the Chiefs.
I do have them doing better than the Chiefs.
They're not going to win the AFC West.
I don't think they'll. The optimism is high for this team because I love Herbert.
Why?
Because I love Herbert.
Well, that's why I got them in the
Yeah.
playoffs, but I don't have them. They're still going to charge her.
The fact that we're having the conversation about Herbert along the Jalen Hurts and Tua conversation and not the Burrow and the Mahomes
It's ridiculous.
pisses me off.
It's a ridiculous narrative, and I agree with you. He's absolutely better.
So
but
I
that
think
team is not.
if he goes 13-4 and he dethrones the Chiefs in the AFC West, even if they don't go anywhere in the playoffs, like if they win one game and then lose to whoever,
They'll win a playoff game this year.
yeah,
I
think that would finally get him over that hump, and that's what I want for Herbert. But I don't. Again, it's the Chargers and it's Staley.
No, I want it for the Chargers, but I think 11-6 is a fair spot to put them because they're a team that will absolutely battle attrition. They do every year. Brandon Staley will make some decisions that cost them games.
Yep.
And the Chargers will charge her away at least 1 point. You know what we need to do? We need to make like actual like season bingo cards, and on my bingo card will be Chargers blow a three possession lead, and I'll have the same thing for the Falcons.
I will put Falcons blow a 28-3 lead.
Yeah, exactly. No, like at least one of
will
these
be that bad.
At least one of these games, they are going to blow a 3 possession lead.
It's very possible.
I am almost certain of it.
It's incredibly possible, and it could be against any one of these teams, even the fucking Raiders.
Exactly. So now that we're on the Raiders, you said what? 7-10, 8-9,
Yes.
something like that.
Do we want to do Denver first, or do we want to go to the Raiders now?
Let's do the Raiders now because I think
Okay.
Denver is going to be a more contentious debate to finish out with.
That works for me.
Okay, so let's start off at Denver. Week
Yeah,
one.
my
They lose.
guess is 7-10.
7-10.
Yeah.
All right.
Without looking fully into the schedule,
Fair enough. All right. Week one. I think Denver beats them.
I will give it to Denver.
Buffalo smokes them.
Yes.
Pittsburgh beats them.
Yes.
Chargers beat them.
Yes.
I think that they will beat Green
I
Bay,
was gonna say they beat Green Bay.
and then I think they lose to New England.
I have them beating New England.
Okay. I think they beat Chicago.
Okay.
They lose to Detroit,
Yep.
and they beat the Giants.
Yeah.
So right now I have them 3-7.
I have them 4-6.
Okay. Jets lose.
Yeah.
At Miami they lose.
Yeah.
Kansas City lose.
Yeah.
So going into the bye, I have them 3-10.
I think I have them 4-9.
Okay. So you can only have them losing one more game.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
So I have them beating Minnesota out of their bye week.
I have them beating Minnesota. So
They lose to the
5-9.
Chargers again.
Yeah.
They lose at the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's 11.
I got them losing at the Colts.
I have them beating the Colts.
And I think that Denver beats them at the end too.
I think they pull off the win against the Broncos. So I've got them at 6-11,
I have them at
which I was not far off.
Fair.
I was not far off.
I have them at 4-13.
I think both are possible.
I think that they are abysmal.
I think
Like here's my reason for the Colts one because I do think that's close. But I think with the rookie quarterbacks at the end of the year, most of them will start to have settled in.
Yeah.
And I think that the Colts are just going to rely on like a hellacious run game and
think-
just pummel the
yeah.
Raiders because they can't play defense.
I think that's perfectly understandable and possible. I think it's genuinely one of those games where I don't know if the Colts are there just yet. I do think that the Colts and Anthony Richardson can be something special. to be honest, I'm not really in on the Anthony Richardson talk. I don't know why he went 4.
I agree with that. Also, here's my other question for you about the Raiders.
Sure.
At which point in this schedule does Jimmy Garoppolo go out?
I will give you 2 points where I think it could happen.
Week 1.
I think he makes it at least 2 weeks. It could either happen week 3 or 4 at with the Steelers or the Chargers, because I feel like
you want to talk about not a great way to start. Denver's got a good defense. They'll hit him. Buffalo's going to hit him.
Yep.
TJ Watt's going to have a fucking field day and hit him.
100%.
And the Chargers, Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are just going to be like, come here.
I was going to say, after 2 to 3 weeks of him getting battered, he's just going to call it. He's going to say, I'm injured.
Yeah. Who's their backup quarterback?
I think they drafted some guy, Aiden O'Connell, if I remember right. I could be completely wrong.
Go through and justify some years. I'm going to figure out who the hell their backup quarterback is.
So I will justify the fact that I think they beat the Vikings strictly because it's one of those games out of the bye. Vikings are going to Vikings, not as badly as the Chargers find a way to do that, but I think the Vikings find a way to lose this one. Going back to the Colts really quickly, personally, I'm not big on Anthony Richardson. Could he prove me wrong with his intangibles and like some of his abilities? Absolutely. I think he's a hell of an athlete. But there are Florida Gators fans who are shocked that he went so high. It's the same thing that happens every single year.
I agree. They fell in love with an athlete.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing that happens every year. I mean, it's why Jordan Love got traded up for to go get, and he hasn't done anything. And granted, Aaron Rodgers is sitting in front of him having 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. I understand you're not going to move on from Aaron Rodgers until it's literally the only option at this point. So I'm not going to judge Jordan Love for sitting on a bench. But I'm also not going to get super stoked that now Jordan Love has been sitting for 4 years.
No, you can't.
And he's going to come in and do better on that same roster that really did not improve very much other than on the defensive side of the ball. No, I think it's going to be a very similar situation.
That's why I agree with you on the Green Bay one.
Yeah, and that's why I think that Green Bay will actually not win that game against the Raiders because I personally just cannot trust Jordan Love yet. And to be honest with you, I don't think Jordan Love's that good. Jordan Love, I'll get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a sneak preview, not an exact number, but I don't have the Packers having a great year.
Yeah, they're not going to have a good year for me either, to be completely honest. I think they pull off the Patriots win strictly because Josh McDaniels versus Bill Belichick is a fun story. And Josh McDaniels has more of a Patriots roster than the actual Patriots do right now. So I don't know. Maybe it's possible that he pulls some magic out of his ass with fucking Jimmy Garoppolo if he's still playing at that point of the season, which is very likely to not be the case.
Where's that New England game?
Week 6.
It's a coin flip.
And I'll go back to what I was saying. I was like either between week 3 and 4 he's out, or week 11 to 12 right before the bye week he goes out. So I would say
I don't think he gets there.
I was going to say there's 2 ways this goes. He's either out early and often, or the team's not doing great anyways, and you get to kind of week 11 and 12. There's no point for Jimmy G to be playing. Yeah. He's just here for a paycheck.
And their backups are Aiden O'Connell,
nailed it,
Brian Hoyer, and Chase Garbers.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot of faith in... I'm assuming Brian Hoyer is going to come in and play Patriots football at Brian Hoyer level.
I don't know, man. From what I hear, he's more there to be like a culture guy more than a player.
I heard they're very interested in Aiden O'Connell.
I'm sure they are.
And you know what? At this point, whatever, man. Like, I don't care.
You know who I feel bad for in this whole situation? Really, there's only 2 players. Number 1's Devontae Adams.
Yep.
And then, I feel bad for Max Crosby.
Yeah, I feel bad for both of them. I would also throw one out, and granted, we'll have a running back conversation another time. I do feel bad for Josh Jacobs, but you chose to play running back, so take the payment out of it. Josh Jacobs is a good running back on a team that is genuinely terrible. You're not going to get, especially going into this year when you're making it a big deal contract year, you're not going to get paid. So yeah, I would say I really don't have a lot of faith in this team. I am very proud of the fact that I almost nailed it with my 7-10. I gave them 1 extra win, but 6-11 seems like the high point for this team, with 4-13 being a very realistic low, and it could go even.
I think their low is lower.
I think it could go even worse. So I would say, buckle up, Las Vegas. There's gonna be plenty of reasons to be drinking and gambling on the Strip.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to Denver.
Finally.
Okay.
That's what I've been waiting for all day.
I bet. So week 1, I got them beating Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I think they beat Washington.
Yeah.
And I think they lose to Miami.
Yep.
So they start 2-1. I got them beating Chicago.
Yep.
And then I have them beating the Jets. We flip on
I
that.
have them losing, yeah.
They lose at Kansas City.
Yep.
I think they lose to Green Bay for a very specific reason.
Okay.
The next week is Kansas City at home. And I think that they really want that one. I think all of them have that game circled. And I think Green Bay just sort of like catches them when they're looking past them.
I would agree with you. I think Packers pull that one off too for the same reason. And then I have obviously them getting swept by the Chiefs because I think it would be hilarious if they skip a game because they're looking down and then they still lose that game.
The only reason I had them losing to Green Bay is because I had them winning against Kansas City.
Fair enough.
I think that they're either going to beat Green Bay or beat Kansas City. They will not. They obviously aren't going to get through that stretch 3-0 most likely. And if they do, it means something catastrophic happened in Kansas City.
Right.
But I think they lose one of those two games. But I think that this is the year that they snap their Kansas City losing streak. So I got them losing to Green Bay. So they go into their bye week for me at 5-3.
Yeah, I have them 3-5 going into the bye week.
All right, they lose to Buffalo coming out of the bye.
Yep.
They beat Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll give them that one.
I got them beating Cleveland. How does Cleveland beat them? You're talking about guys who are suspect playing quarterback right now?
No. I know. I'm thinking it. I'm right now in my head.
Is Stefanski going to outcoach them?
In my head, they're both even.
Is Stefanski going to outcoach Sean Payton? Can the Browns defense out-defend the Broncos defense?
It's possible.
No, it's not. That is not possible. You just want to say this is a loss, but you know what your brain is telling you.
It's possible.
Stop that. They're better than the Browns.
I don't know. Nick Chubb can keep the ball away. I mean, if you keep the ball away from Sean
You don't think that
Payton,
the Broncos can stop the run?
No, I think they can. All right.
Come on,
all right,
dude.
Fine, I'll give it to the Broncos.
Houston, they beat.
Yeah, they beat Houston.
I think they lose in LA.
They lose to the Chargers.
I think they actually win in Detroit in a slugfest. But Detroit is going to drop games too. Like Detroit isn't Detroit is not a Super Bowl team yet. They're a good team. I think they're of a similar caliber team to Denver, and that they will fluctuate between winning and losing some of the games that they're like supposed to or not supposed to.
I think they catch Denver.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's one of my swing games.
Yep.
But I think that they just catch Detroit.
Yeah, I
think that they beat New England.
Yeah.
And the Chargers charger in Denver.
I'm gonna go with the Chargers sweep.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I think this is a game where the Chargers charger it.
I think it's very possible. Like I said, I have the Chargers obviously very positive on paper. It is possible they fucking blow it.
And you should be counting these right now because I want to know what you end up having them at.
I'm counting.
Okay, and then I think they sweep Las Vegas.
And then I will give them the Las Vegas sweep. Actually, you know what? At Raiders, I have them losing.
No.
Yes.
All right, you can have them losing.
I have them strictly because Denver always finds a way to drop one to the Raiders. And I think maybe this is one of those cases too where they just fell apart.
I think if they're going to drop one to the Raiders, it's more likely it's week 1. Because I think by this point in the year that Denver will have rounded into shape and Vegas will have completely fallen apart. So what do you have them at? Because it's better than you want. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not.
It's better than you want.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, hold on.
Listen, it's not the division-winning 13-4 Chargers.
I have them 8-9. I think.
You did not pick 9 losses for them.
I did pick 9 losses for them.
You were only off by me by like...
Alright, so I have them getting swept by the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
I have them getting swept by the Chiefs. I have them dropping 1 to the Raiders. So that's 5. I have them losing to the Lions.
Oh, you have them getting swept by the Chargers.
I am getting swept by the Chargers. And then I've got them dropping to the Lions. I've got them dropping to the Bills. So there's...
Oh, you just picked
7.
every swing game to go against them, essentially.
Yeah. And then,
so you got them...
And then Jets and Dolphins.
8-9.
Yeah.
I think that I got them at... What is that? Oh, come on. I got them going 12-5.
Yeah.
Because I think, pretty simply, there's a couple teams in there that are just flat out not as good as them. This is a team that it's really easy to overreact to one team having a really great year. It's also really easy to overreact to one team having a really bad year. And this is a team that there's a reason Sean Payton picked this team. It's because it's a really talented team that has like the entire foundation of a team that can make a deep playoff run, and most of the teams they play simply do not.
And while I am obviously pessimistic on them and biased. I will say, I will say that I am picking a lot of swing games to go negatively for them. Personally, I agree with you. I do think in the same way that you can overreact to a great year by one team and think all of a sudden they're good, you can do the same thing for a team that had a really bad year, especially when things were supposed to be so good and they went so negatively. That you can overreact and say that they're a bad team. Sean Payton makes any team that he's on insanely good, in my opinion, strictly just because some of the stuff that he comes up with.
Yeah.
The mismatches he finds, the offensive mind he has, the plays he's able to call. This is a guy who is going to be in Canton one day. So I'm not going to sit here and say that him coming in changes nothing. What I will say is I've seen Denver for years and years and years and years. I've followed this team. I have seen at multiple years where this is the year they're going to figure it out. This is the year they're going to figure it out. This is the year they're going to figure it out. I don't think enough changed from this. Is it a good roster on paper? Absolutely. That defense is going to be phenomenal. I think Javonte Williams, I call him Javonte. Javonte Williams is a heck of a running back.
I think they need to sign another running back because he had an injury that was big.
Well, they brought in Samaje Perine.
That's not enough.
No, you need more. But personally, coming back, I think he's still going to be pretty solid. He's not going to be the exact same guy.
No, but the difference between him and other guys is he tore like 3 ligaments in his knee.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that you say that like it takes a year for a dude to come back who just had an ACL. His entire knee was gone.
Yeah, that's
Here's why
I want him to still do well.
Me too. But I'm just saying realistic expectations here. It wouldn't be bad for Denver to go and get another back, especially with the discount you're getting right now.
Yeah, I would consider the Dalvin Cook hire.
Or if you can get him, do it.
If you, especially $6-8 million, like go
Something like that
for 1 year.
Here's why I think the Sean Payton thing is enough. Lost in the way that how Denver season went is 50% of like of this team is elite.
Sure.
And the part of it that was not elite was trending upwards as soon as they fired their coach, who was also calling the plays.
Sure.
I also think that, listen, frankly, I think that there are certain teams in like their schedule that, for example, I think Las Vegas is going to be abysmal. I think that they have basically nothing going for them. I think that the Chargers are a team that are talented, but they always find a way to mess it up.
Sure.
There are a million reasons to believe that Denver can beat a team like Minnesota, Cleveland, Houston. They're in the same level as Detroit, and everybody thinks that Detroit is like the surefire playoff team, and a lot of people think a division winner. Like, the difference between the Lions and the Broncos is not really much.
No.
New England, no chance. They're just not talented enough to do it.
I don't think so.
Like, they also have Chicago on here. They're trending up, but Chicago ripped it to the studs.
They're not ready yet.
Like, the fact of the matter is, they play a couple good teams, but for the most part, the teams that they're playing is like 3 teams that are similar to them and a whole bunch that are definitively lower. And I think that they took enough steps forward that they'll beat the teams that are worse. And I trust them more than the swing teams. Like, I don't trust Minnesota more. I don't trust Cleveland for a damn thing. Like, I think that the way that the schedule unfolds for them helps them, and I think that ultimately they get the last playoff spot, beating out the Jets.
I think it's possible. I think 12-5 and 8-9 are both possible.
I also think I think a lot of these teams, when you predict their records end up being high.
Yep.
And every single one of these teams is going to at least drop 1 or 2, where they shouldn't. So realistically, 12-5 is probably more 10-7, and 13-4 is probably more realistically 12-5, 11-6.
Sure.
Like, that seems to be always how it is. Really, there's usually only like 2, maybe 3 teams that get in that 13 win range. Yeah. But I just think Denver's got enough to get into the playoffs when they have a dud team in their division. They play, what is it? The AFC North? And they play the NFC North, just like the rest of the AFC West. They play the NFC North, and the NFC North is a division that's like completely in flux, with the exception of the ascending Lions.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they're built where if their offense goes from being like an F to being like a C, which I think is like possible on its low end, that's enough right there to at least swing like 4 of the games they lost last year. And then they improve their O-line,
They bring in more weapons. Their biggest addition is Sean Payton. I mean, this is a team that there was a reason why everybody last year when they got Russell Wilson, Denver's now a Super Bowl contender. Yada yada. It's because the whole team's really good, and I don't know, man. I think last year was like the worst that it gets. Like it's tough to for things to go more disastrously.
No, that's fair. I will say that, and not even having a first round pick to do anything with them until you have to trade Bradley Chubb is absolutely part of that. I personally, I don't think Russell Wilson is that guy anymore.
I don't think you have to be that guy to make the playoffs.
No, I don't. Well, that's the thing is, are we talking about just making playoffs, or are we talking about them eventually being a contender? Because
I think they will be a contender down the road, but I think this is the year where they take a definitive step forward.
I think it's possible. I also think it's one more Denver. Just nope, wrong guy, wrong place, same time. I would be super excited as a Broncos fan because you brought in Sean Payton. That is a huge get. Again, I can't stress that enough. I've been really high on Sean Payton, and I've always been high on the guy. So bringing him in is a huge deal, and I will give credit where credit is due. That's the move that probably needed to be made in this situation. Personally, I don't know if it helps. I think the fucking engine on the train is completely fucking. It is what it is, and I've talked about Russell Wilson for again a year and a half.
Well, see, I think that's where you and I fundamentally differ. I don't think he's the engine of this team.
Would you say it's the defense
No, I think Sean Payton's the engine. Russell Wilson is a first class passenger per se.
Until Sean Payton gets on that team, gets on that field for that team, I will not call him the.
He's absolutely the engine for the whole thing because the entire thing switches with him.
He's the conductor.
I'll give
him that. He's the engineer.
I think you switch it. There are ways for quarterback to not have a huge impact on the game and for you to be really good.
No, I get that. I just think if you put Russell Wilson against the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills in the playoffs, I'm
not saying they beat them.
No, and that's what I'm saying is I don't think they ever beat them.
I think there's a world where they beat them. Any given week, that defense could clamp any of them.
Sure.
I mean, if you really seriously, if I was to rank the likelihood that they beat any of them, I think Kansas City is the least likely that they beat. I think they could clamp down on Buffalo, and I think that they have the exact combination of things in terms of the way their defense is built that you guys have problems because they can cover your guys.
They can cover one of our guys.
No, they can cover all your guys. Their secondary is the deepest in the league.
Didn't really help them last year.
Yes, it did. In terms of stopping teams, it absolutely did.
Oh, yeah, they stopped everybody. That's why they had the top 5 pick that they gave us,
Really? Are you that intellectually dishonest?
I'm not intellectually dishonest.
That is intellectually dishonest.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is. You will not run up the score on that.
Ronald Darby, you're gonna tell me that's up there as one of the top depth guys? Who else?
Simmons might be the best safety in the league.
No. Credit where credit's due. I'll give
Surtain, I think, is the best corner.
No, Surtain and Simmons, absolutely. I'm not gonna take anything away from them.
Kareem Jackson's another good safety.
He's fine.
Fine is all you need. Here, I'll pull up Denver's depth chart right now.
I personally don't believe that they really could stop just about anybody on that defense. Do I think they have the ability to have a great day and stop an offense like the Bengals, like the Bills, like the Chiefs? Absolutely.
That's all you have to have.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The Chiefs are still putting up 27, 30 points against these guys. The Bills, in my opinion, probably could do the same thing.
Some of that is also, again, part of this is you have to factor in they will not be on the field as much.
Fine, yes, totally understand. They do not have to have. They're not going to be going through blowout after blowout because the offense can't do a single thing like they had to do last year. But when the team was playing well against Kansas City at the end of the year, when Russell Wilson was keeping up and playing with Mahomes, whatever you want to call that, they still gave up 27 points because a good offense is going to find ways to not be stopped by this defense. And I will absolutely, totally give
Listen,
up.
I admit that it's true. We play in the worst era of football where offense is allowed to do anything they want and can't be truly stopped. Admittedly, that's true. It's a soft era. That's why there's nobody that plays in this era on offense that can ever be considered the best of their position of all time. But I mean, you're not going to get... their defense averaged... Where the hell's the fucking stats on that thing? Come on, click. Oh, come on. This thing does not want to click. Whatever, it's not going to click.
But their defense in terms of their secondary, so they got Simmons, Jackson at safety. They got Surtain at the first corner. They have they had a rookie last year. What's his first name? Damari Mathis, who started picking up at the end. And then K'Wan Williams in the slot, who's one of the better slot corners in the league.
Sure.
So 4 out of the 5 are proven to be good. And the other one is young and showed promise. Like, you can cover up the young one with have Simmons lean that way.
Sure.
Like,
Totally understand.
They're not in a position where many of these teams will blow them out.
Let me put it this way. I think they have a 10% chance to beat Kansas City at any given Sunday when both teams are healthy, completely healthy. I say they have a 25% chance of pulling it off on the Bills and Bengals. I'll give them 25%.
No, I agree with that. I'm not saying I favor them.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the idea that they have no chance of beating any team at any time.
I'm not saying no chance, but I'm saying if you put these two teams completely, you put any of these two teams together, the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills against the Denver Broncos, I'm not going to say there's no chance.
They're favored for sure.
Strictly what I would say is if you're in a playoff must-win scenario, I'd rather have either one of those quarterbacks than Russell Wilson. I don't think Russell Wilson is that guy anymore. You absolutely could make the statement at the end of the day, if an offense is running the Sean Payton system, you don't need him to be that guy. But there's a reason why he only won 1 Super Bowl with Drew Brees. Because Drew Brees was being that guy, and that offense was so good, and defense failed him. That's not going to be the situation here, obviously, with Denver, because Denver's defense is a lot better. But I will say, 110%.
The NFC was also tougher when he was there.
Absolutely. And I'm not knocking Drew Brees by any means, shape, or form, or the Saints in that situation, because...
They also lost some of the most crazy...
True.
Oh God.
True. True. Let's never forget
the Rams one. The Rams one is a horrible one.
The Rams one is undeserved.
The Minnesota one
one's
just like oh my God,
a kick in the balls. That one's a full-on Madden situation where you get cocky and you go. It is what it is.
I'm running the old engage 8 real quick.
Oh yeah, running the engage 8 because you want the sack and you know you're winning, and then all of a sudden, crap! I did not think he would actually do that, but. Personally,
so here's what ultimately. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender, but okay,
that's the thing.
In the context of the AFC,
this team should be a Super Bowl contender, though. That's what's crazy to me.
Well, I'm not jumping to that until I see them. Well, but here's where I'm saying here's why I think they're a playoff team. In the context of the AFC, as a conference, right? Bills are better. I'm just gonna go through the divisions. Bills are better. I said the Dolphins are better. I don't think the Jets are better than them, and I don't think the Pats are better. Bengals are better. Ravens may start that way, but they ain't going to finish that way. Steelers they're like the habitual 9-8 right now, so I don't think they're better, but I think they're similar.
I think the Steelers could be a 10-7.
Well, I think the Steelers are similar. I think the Browns are worse.
Sure.
And then AFC South, I don't think any of them are better.
I won't argue that.
And then AFC West, I only think the Chiefs are better. I don't think the Chargers are actually better.
I think the Chargers could be better.
I think they could be, but again, we talk about some teams you really got to see it. The Chargers are the team where I refuse right now.
That's fair.
Until I see multiple times that they're not going to do the same shit.
That's fair. But when it comes down to two teams that I need to see it from both teams,
I'm more confident that Denver beats them.
That's fair. I'm going to go quarterback on this one. I'm going to say Herbert beats them.
It's fair. But I just think that really when you break it down, it's so I think that 2 teams come out of the AFC East. I think 1 team comes out of the AFC North. Because I think that there's always a division that cannibalizes itself, and there's enough teams in that division where it's close that it'll be that one.
Sure.
1's going to come out of the AFC South.
Okay.
And then I think 3 come out of the West.
Yeah. See, I've got 2 from the AFC East. I've got 2 from the North, 2 from the West, 1 from the South.
Yeah. I'm glad we're in agreement on the South. There's 1 team coming from the South in every conference.
Yeah.
The AFC and NFC South are just always the worst.
Yeah, It's really weird how that happens.
When was the last time either of those were the best division of football?
Best division in football?
Or thought to be. My guess is somewhere in the mid-2010s. I wouldn't have been shocked if the NFC South was when
I was going to say
Carolina and New Orleans were both cooking.
Carolina and Atlanta was solid.
Yeah, and that would be my guess. AFC South never. Never.
I could not tell you. I could not.
There's one good at any time.
There's one good who's just coasting to a playoff.
All right, regardless, we went through, we projected the AFC East and the AFC West, and we will do the North and South.
and then hop over to the NFC.
Yep.
So
Works for me.
sweet. Peace.
Peace.